Let's remind everybody that,
Go ahead.
I can't believe this is real.
Oh boy.
There's so many moving parts on this deal. Here we go. On Saturday, a group of what was believed to be 15 to 20 wrestlers were expected to confront Bush the next afternoon before the show, and all, as a group, asked for contract releases as a protest against Sullivan being named Booker. Since Bush stated at a meeting that he took over as the man in charge, that if anybody was unhappy working in the company, he'd give them their full release. Being wrestling what it is, about half the group that promised to stick together the previous day had already changed their mind. And there didn't appear to be any hard feelings over that among the group that did risk their jobs, being that the realization is if many wrestlers quit at once, they wouldn't be able to find that many new jobs, and most had families to support. It wound up being Chris Benoit, Perry Saturn, Dean Malenko, Shane Douglas, Eddie Guerrero, Conan, and Billy Kidman going to Bush as a group, either asking for their release or for Sullivan to be taken off the booking committee. And Conan also said he was speaking for Juventud and Rey Mysterio, both of whom weren't at the pay-per-view due to not being booked on the card. Chat me up. When did you hear about this?
I never heard about that.
Even when it's happening, nobody came and said, by the way, all these dudes are trying to quit.
No.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Glad we're doing this show.
No, I'm serious. I don't remember somebody coming and say, hey, all these people want to quit. I just thought that it was just the regular, guys quit. I didn't think it was a whole group going to Bill Bush or a whole group going in en masse and doing that. I just thought it was people quitting.
Meltzer would say Bush at this point was in a tough position since he had literally just given the job to Sullivan, and a change due to pressure from the wrestlers would have in the long run left the company in chaos, because the wrestlers, whenever they get unhappy, which is routine in this business, would try the same strategy if it worked once, and might actually stick together if it worked once. Bush was also said to be unaware that any of this was about to happen before it did, or that there was this much heat with Sullivan, which was not a good sign since it had already been reported as it was going to happen on several websites and at least one radio show by Saturday. Bush said to the first group before the pay-per-view, give me 1 week to smooth things over, but did not go so far as to say he would give them full releases in 1 week if they were still unhappy. At one point, Benoit was going to, since he believed he was leaving, not accept the title. The feeling was it was best for all concerned because his champion that had just been put over with the title, it gave him some leverage since nobody else in the group had a current top position. It does make one question the decision to still give him the title after he asked for his release, but that appears to be management, giving a feeling that maybe he's a mark for the belt, and that right. Sullivan in the beginning would be politically, for Sullivan's own survival under scrutiny, be forced to push Benoit to the moon, despite whatever personal feelings there might be. I would ask what you thought about this, but you just said you didn't know it happened.
I didn't.
But how do you process that? Do you think he was giving the belt to Chris Benoit to just secure his own job? Was he doing it to curry some favor with the boys who maybe were negative? Is this his way of proving, hey, you don't have anything to worry about?
Yeah.
Or did he think that this was best for business?
No, I think he was doing that to show the boys there's nothing to worry about. That's what it's, and that's what it feels to me. Whether that really was the case or not, I don't know, but that's what it feels. Listen, it's hard to explain, but there was so much shit going on. You two things, you had to worry about your own job, and I had to worry about, announcing and putting together other TV shows and editing, working with the producers, editing other TV shows, that I didn't have the time nor the energy to get involved in who is upset with who. I didn't, because it would just bring me down. And I tried to stay away from all that shit. There were people, who talked to people and and got the dirt and read the dirt sheets and internet and whatever. I stayed away from all that because it just upset me. And I didn't need to see that or hear that, so I stayed away from it. So when we had a lot of people walk out, I just wrote it off to, well, people leave and come and go and come all the time. I did not hear of a mass walkout. But there apparently was one, right? I mean, there was one.
Meltzer would write, Benoit, being the most valuable member of the group, if he agreed to stay, would severely weaken the group as a whole. There was no indication from anywhere in WCW that they were going to remove Sullivan as booker, and there were wrestlers in the group that Bush told afterwards very nicely that he'd be sorry to see them leave. There also appeared to be several attempts to weaken the solidarity of the group throughout the day, being that this is pro wrestling and groups sticking together has never been a strong trait in this business, with very few true friends and a general me first attitude. Mm-hmm. Benoit was told he was aligning himself with the wrong people and that they had big plans for him. Nash told Perry Saturn a similar story, not to align himself with preliminary guys, and told him that he deserved a big push and he'd work to get him a spot in the NWO. Kidman was promised a major singles push out of the cruiserweight level and into the United States title picture, which eventually broke him from the group. In a similar divide and conquer action, Conan was the recipient of one of the scare tactics, being told by Dylan after the pay-per-view that he was being sent home by management for the time being. The other wrestlers, while some admired the guts of the guys for sticking together, were not unified totally with the general feeling that they were risking high-paying guaranteed money contracts that they wouldn't be able to get anywhere else, with only one company paying even comparable money and no guarantee that all would be able to get positions with that company, that the group wasn't being business smart to risk their jobs largely for what some outsiders perceived as nothing more than loyalty to Chris Benoit. I feel like that's something that isn't talked about a lot, but behind the scenes, everyone knew that Chris Benoit, for lack of a better word, had stolen Kevin Sullivan's wife, right?
Right.
So if you're aligning yourself with the guy who stole the boss's wife, doesn't that maybe line up to be not the smartest decision?
Well, one would think, but this is pro wrestling.
It's so weird to me, like in a very conventional sense, if you work at a place and your best friend starts beating out the boss's wife, I might start distancing myself from him at work if I felt like I was in the line of fire. But if they started promoting that guy who just beat out the boss's wife, well, I'm going to figure out, I'm going to get me a cup of coffee and just figure out what's next, but I ain't going nowhere because bad behavior is rewarded in this company.
There's something I need to ask about all this.
First of all, hang on, before we do, let's just get down the rabbit hole for a minute. Let's pretend for a minute that someone started hooking up with Linda McMahon.
Uh-huh.
You reckon Vince is going to put the belt on him? I'm just asking.
No, I doubt it.
This is a fucking weird story, man. Is it not?
Tony's back with Conrad, not your classy podcast. Watch along, try not to laugh. Lowest rules can't pass. This wasn't the initial plan. Tom Zigg's a good-looking man. Klondike Bill, make a chant. Tommy, you come over.